John Mercer rode into Willow Bend with nothing but a tired horse, a dust-coated coat, and a hunger for quiet. He'd been drifting for years, town to town, ranch to ranch, never staying longer than a season. He wasn't looking for trouble or company, just a warm meal, a hot bath, and a place to get out of his own head. But as he walked down the wooden boardwalk toward the general store, a small shop caught his attention. Naomi's Candle House. The sign was carved by hand, painted soft lavender, and the door was decorated with dried wildflowers. A warm glow poured from the windows. Something in the air smelled like honey and cedar like home, if he still had one. He pushed the door open, and a tiny bell chimed. Inside stood a young woman with soft brown hair tied back with twine, an apron dusted with wax flakes, and the shyest smile he'd ever seen. "Hello," she said quietly. "Welcome. Can I help you find a scent?" John wasn't sure why his heart gave a small, unfamiliar kick. "Maybe I ain't good at picking things for myself." She stepped closer, her fingers brushing a row of small jars. "This one is my favorite. I call it Twilight Meadow." He lifted the lid. The smell wildflowers after rain made his chest loosen. "I'll take it." Naomi's smile brightened, just enough to soften her timidness. "I'm glad." When he paid, he noticed the bruise near her wrist, yellowish around the edges. Something inside him tightened. "You all right, miss?" Naomi hesitated. Her eyes flickered toward the window. "Just clumsy hands, that's all." But he didn't believe her. He stepped out of the shop, lit the candle at his rented room that night, and the scent filled the air like a memory he never lived. Quiet, comfort, safety. He closed his eyes, breathing it in, and all he saw was Naomi's soft smile. John returned the next morning, under the excuse of buying a second candle, though he barely finished admiring the first. Naomi seemed surprised to see him, her cheeks turning rosy. "I didn't expect you back. Figured a place like this is worth seeing twice," he said. She looked down, flustered, but before she could reply, the shop door slammed open. A wiry man with a crooked mustache marched in, his voice sharp as barbed wire. "Naomi, we need to talk." Naomi's shoulders stiffened. "Mr. Pike, I'm busy right now." "Ain't looking like you're busy enough. You're stealing customers from my shop." His glare flicked to John. "And you're attracting all kinds of strays." John stood straight. "Sir, I'm just buying candles." Pike sneered. "Yeah, well, she's been undercutting my business for months. I warned you, girl. Prices go up, or you close down." Naomi's voice trembled. "You don't own the candle trade, Mr. Pike." "Maybe not," he hissed, "but I own enough folks around here to make things hard on you." John took a slow step forward. "That's enough." Pike eyed him with disdain. "Stay out of this, cowboy. You'll be gone by next week." John held his stare, calm, cold. Finally, Pike scoffed and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Naomi let out a shaky breath. "I'm sorry you had to see that." "I'm more sorry you had to deal with it," John said gently. "Has he hurt you before?" Her eyes darted away. "He wants me to shut down. Says my candles are too good. Says they take customers from his general store." She swallowed. "And he wants a cut. Or else." John clenched his jaw. "You ain't alone anymore." Naomi blinked, startled. "Why would you help me?" He paused, searching for the right words. "Because some folks deserve to be stood up for, and you ain't done a single thing wrong." Her eyes softened, and for the first time she looked at him fully. "Thank you, John." John spent the next several days helping around the shoplifting crates of wax, repairing shelves, sweeping floors, and even learning how to pour candles. Naomi's laughter grew less shy, her eyes brighter, as though she was remembering how to breathe again. One afternoon, while they worked side by side, melting wax over a small stove, Naomi spoke softly. "You don't have to stay, you know." "I figure I do," John replied. "Something tells me Pike ain't done causing trouble." Naomi bit her lip. "I don't want you hurt." John smiled faintly. "I've been through worse than a shopkeeper with a mean streak." She laughed nervously. "You don't understand. He has friends in town. They think he's powerful. That don't make him right, John said. And it sure don't mean you deserve to be scared. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured wax into a tin mold. He steadied it with one hand, brushing hers gently. Naomi froze, then looked up at him, her breath catching. The warmth between them flickered like a small flame. But before anything could be said, someone pounded on the front door. John moved quickly, hand drifting to the knife at his belt. Naomi whispered, "It's him." John opened the door a crack. Mr. Pike stood outside with two rough-looking men. "Cowboy," Pike said, "you and I need to chat." John stepped outside, closing the door behind him. One of the hired men scowled. "You're sticking your nose where it don't belong." John crossed his arms. "Looks like I belong right here." Pike's voice dripped with threat. "Naomi pays us, or she pays the price." John stared. "You're extortionists. That what you're saying?" Pike shrugged. "Call it business." John shook his head slowly. "No, business is honest. What you're doing is cowardly." Pike snapped his fingers. The two men lunged. John moved fast, faster than they expected. He dodged the first punch and drove his elbow into the man's jaw. The other swung wide, and John swept his leg, sending him crashing to the dirt. Pike stepped back, startled. "You're mackin' a mistake." "No," John growled. "I'm settin' things right." Pike scrambled away and fled down the road. John watched until they disappeared, then re-entered the shop. Naomi threw her arms around him, trembling. "Are you okay?" John rested a gentle hand on her back. "I'm fine. It's you I'm worried about." Naomi looked up, tears glistening. "Why do you care so much?" He brushed a stray hair from her cheek. "Because you remind me what peace feels like." Naomi blushed, breath softening. John, for the first time, she didn't look away. The trouble didn't end with the fight. Pike filed a complaint with the sheriff, claiming John had assaulted him, unprovoked. But when the sheriff questioned the townsfolk, most admitted they'd seen Pike bullying Naomi for months. The sheriff shrugged. "Man like him's been getting away with too much for too long. You did this town a favor." Still, John stayed close to Naomi. They worked together each day, sharing stories and quiet moments that warmed the small shop more than any candle could. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the windows amber, Naomi handed John a candle she'd made herself. "It's for you," she said shyly. "A thank you." He lifted the lid. Pine, leather, and warm smoke. A scent that reminded him of the trail his life before her. She whispered, "I made it from what I imagine your world smells like." John felt something shift inside him, something gentle, yet overwhelming. "Naomi, that's the kindest thing anyone's done for me." Their eyes met. The air grew still. Naomi hesitated, then spoke softly. "I never thought someone like you would want to stay in a place like this." "Someone like me," John echoed. She nodded. "Strong, brave, unafraid." John shook his head. "I'm afraid, plenty, Naomi." "What could you possibly be afraid of?" He reached for her hand. "Leavin' this town, and realizin' I left behind the one good thing I ever found." Naomi's breath hitched. "You don't have to leave." His thumb brushed her wrist delicately. "I'm startin' to think I don't want to." The shop grew quiet, their faces inches apart. But then the window shattered. A brick crashed onto the counter, wrapped in a note. Naomi gasped. John grabbed the brick and opened the paper. "Last warning. Close the shop." Naomi trembled. "John, what if he burns my shop down? What if?" John pulled her into his chest. "I won't let nothin' happen to you. Or this place." She buried her face in his shirt, breathing in the safety he offered. "I'm so tired of being scared." John held her tighter. "Then let me be the one who isn't." The sheriff arrived minutes later, promising to guard the shop overnight. Pike was running out of chances, and the town was losing patience. That night, Naomi and John stayed together inside the shop, the candles burning softly around them. They talked for hours about her dreams of expanding, his wounds from the past, and the strange, unexpected comfort they found in each other. At some point, Naomi leaned her head on his shoulder. John pressed a kiss to her hair. And for the first time in years, John felt like he'd found a place that could be more than a stop along the road. A place that felt like home. Morning light filtered through the shop windows, glinting off rows of candles. Naomi woke slowly, her head resting against John's shoulder. For a moment, she forgot the danger, the threats, the shattered window. All she felt was warmth. John stirred, glancing down at her with a soft smile. "Mornin'." Naomi sat up slowly. "Sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep on you." "Best sleep I've had in a long while," he murmured. Before Naomi could respond, the sheriff burst through the door. "We got him," he said. Pike was seen sneaking around with a torch before sunrise. Townsfolk caught him trying to set fire to the back of the shop. Naomi gasped. "He's been taken in," the sheriff continued. "Won't trouble you no more." Naomi sagged with relief, tears welling. John wrapped an arm around her, steadying her. After the sheriff left, Naomi turned to John. "It's over. Really over." He nodded. "You're safe now." She looked around her shop, the place she poured her heart into. "I couldn't have done this alone." "You did most of it," John said. "I just stood beside you." Naomi reached for his hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's all I ever wanted. For someone to stand beside me." John swallowed, meeting her gaze. "Naomi, I came here planning to leave the next morning." "I know," she said softly. "But every day I stayed, I found something worth staying for." Her eyes sparkled. "What did you find?" John stepped closer, brushing a thumb across her cheek. "You." Naomi's breath trembled. "What happens now?" He took both her hands gently. "If you'll have me, I'd like to stay. Help you run this shop. Maybe build something together." Naomi's lips parted in astonishment. "John, yes. Of course yes." He'd pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he'd spent a lifetime searching for this moment. She melted into him, her heart finally unburdened. Around them, the candles flickered with soft golden flame-steiny lights, celebrating the beginning of something bright. John kissed her gently, savoring the sweetness and the promise in it. Naomi kissed him back, hands curling into his shirt, her fears slipping away. When they finally parted, she whispered, "Welcome home, John." And he smiled a deep, grateful smile. "Feels good to hear that." Together, they opened the shop for the day, sunlight spilling in like a blessing. The townsfolk came to buy candles, offering Naomi hugs and warm words. John worked beside her, steady and sure, as if he'd been meant to be there all along. By sundown, Naomi lit a single lavender candle and placed it in the window. "A new beginning," she said. John took her hand, the first of many. As the flame danced, they stood together in the glow to souls who found each other by chance and chose to stay by choice. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.